A warm breath grazed the back of their neck, and a shiver crawled down their spine. Please, a voice trembled. Don't do this. But when that person looked up, the only thing visible was a hooded figure, a cap pulled low beneath the hood, a black mask swallowing half their face. The fear snapped under a maniacal laugh that sliced through the air.
So, you're begging now? How adorable!
The other voice mocked, tracing a finger down the victim's cheek. A slow, almost tender caress on skin slick with tears. Then came another voice, faint at first, calling for someone.
Cassie?
But no one turned. The sound was drowned out by fear and the thrill from both the captive and the captor.
Cassie!
The call grew louder, desperate, tearing through the air. Louder, louder.
Cassie!
And then
Cassie!
Cashin snapped out of it, looking up at her roommate.
God, Kashan, you're zoning out again.
The other woman grumbled. Cashin just shrugged, taking a bite of her waffle.
They'll be posting the exam results soon. I can focus, Adeline.
She sighed.
Babe, that's in 2 more days.
Adeline groaned.
Besides, we have more pressing matters right now.
She shook her head in disappointment. Cashin raised a brow, confused, making Adeline face palm out of frustration before pointing toward the TV, where the news was playing. A body has just been discovered in an alley. That was the only thing the reporter managed to say before the screen went black, making Adeline gasp.
Cassie, why did you do that?
She questioned, almost in a screech. Cashin sighed, putting the remote down as she took another bite of her waffle.
I'm more interested in my grades.
Adeline sighed in frustration, exasperated by her roommate's constant dismissal of everything beyond academics. She didn't say anything else. The smell of fresh coffee lingered in the air, a quiet reminder that, for now, they were both fine. Yet, beneath that comfort, something faintly unsettling seemed to stir, a sense of unease that tangled with the aroma of coffee. Cashin didn't notice, or maybe she chose not to. Her mind drifted elsewhere, to exam results, deadlines, the endless noise of worry she mistook for purpose. Still, there was that nagging feeling at the back of her mind, clawing for attention. When breakfast was done, she finally stepped out of the apartment and onto the street, the familiar route toward campus, the same road that passed the alley that's always mentioned on the news. It should have scared her. It should have bothered her to walk past it. But her thoughts were once again tangled in exams and grades, as if they were the only things that could save her. Yet, something in the air felt heavier today. Even the usual chatter from students on the sidewalk seemed quieter, strained. The closer she got to the campus gates, the more that silence pressed against her chest until it followed her inside. As she walked down the hallway, all Cashin could hear was the anxious chatter rippling through the students. She could feel it too. The tension, the unease, like everyone else, she wasn't oblivious. No. She could sense that something was off, even for someone who rarely cared about anything beyond her grades. A single missing poster, somehow carried inside the building, seemed to mock them. A red stain bled across the image of the missing person, and for the rest of the day, the same phrase echoed through the corridors: the body in that alley. By nightfall, the whispers had faded, replaced by the quiet hum of the dead beyond the comfort of a home. A home she shares with someone who makes things bearable. Adeline had just started drifting off on the couch when the front door opened, letting the street light spill inside. Cashin stepped in quietly, but the sound was enough to make Adeline stare.
Where have you been?
Adeline mumbled, half asleep as she sat up. Her eyes caught on a dark stain smeared across Cashin's white uniform.
Cassie, you know how hard it is to get ink out of white fabric.
She muttered, rubbing her face. Then she squinted.
Or is that paint? That's not any better.
Cashin froze, unsure if her roommate had noticed the faint smell of iron beginning to drift in the air. For a moment, her eyes flicked toward the open window, an unnecessary gesture of guilt, before she composed herself.
Do you ever think some people deserve what happens to them?
Cashin asked quietly, then, almost too quickly, she shook her head.
You should have been in your room.
Adeline furrowed her brows, still groggy.
Deserve what happens to them? It depends, Cassie. I'm not a god to decide who deserves what.
She sighed and leaned back against the couch.
But that's a strange question to ask before bed.
Cashin didn't answer. Her fingers brushed against the dark stain on her uniform, and she forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes.
I'll go get cleaned. You should sleep, Addie.
The soft creak of the stairs followed her up, each step slow and deliberate, like someone trying not to wake a house already aware something wasn't right. Cashin chose not to sleep that night. The white uniform she wore was already soaking in the sink, streaks of crimson dissolving into cloudy water as she changed into something else. When she was dressed, she turned her attention back to the fabric, scrubbing until her hands were raw from the friction, watching the stain fade into a memory of her rendezvous before she got home. When it seemed clean enough, she hung it by the tub to dry. By the time she went downstairs, the couch was empty. The faint tent where Adeline had been was the only sign she'd ever fallen asleep there. Cashin assumed she'd gone upstairs to bed, so she slipped out quietly again. However, Adeline hadn't gone far. She waited until the front door clicked shut, until Cashin's footsteps dissolved into the quiet outside. Then she stood. Unease pulled her toward the bathroom. The smell of iron lingered in the air, faint but undeniable. The freshly washed uniform hung limp, damp, and pale under the bathroom light. Adeline's hand trembled when she reached out. The fabric was cold. Her stomach churned. Something inside her whispered to leave it alone, but she couldn't. So she left the bathroom instead, heart pounding, and stepped out of the house. Somewhere along the path towards campus, there were two figures by the alley: a captive, a captor. A warm breath grazed the back of her neck, and a shiver crawled down her spine. Please, the voice trembled. Don't do this. When she looked up, only a hooded figure stood there, a cap pulled low beneath the hood, a black mask swallowing half the killer's face. The fear snapped under a maniacal laugh that sliced through the air.
So, you're begging now? How adorable!
The voice mocked, tracing a finger down the victim's cheek, a slow, almost tender caress on skin slick with tears. And then came another voice, faint at first, calling for someone.
Cassie?
No one turned. The sound was drowned out by fear and thrill.
Cassie!
Louder now, desperate, tearing through the air. Louder. The woman looked familiar. Louder. And then the killer made a decision, played God, and took someone's life.
Cassie!
Adeline screamed, the terror raw in her throat. The killer dropped the body, and she ran. She ran until the world collapsed into black. Adeline woke up the next morning, her head pounding, her vision slow to focus. The first thing she saw was Cashin hovering over her, eyes wide, relief spilling into tears.
Addie! Oh my gosh, you're finally awake!
Cashin cried, pulling her into a tight embrace. Adeline felt the other girl's body tremble against hers and heard the muffled sob that followed.
You poor me!
Cashin whispered, her voice breaking. When Adeline's arms hesitantly moved to return the hug, Cashin smiled, a soft, almost tender smile that made something twist inside Adeline.
I was so worried.
She murmured again, her tone shifting, colder now. Adeline froze. Cashin pulled back, holding her at arm's length. Her expression had changed. Sweetness curdled into something unrecognizable.
Silly girl.
She cooed.
You followed me.
Cashin tilted her head, the faintest mirth tugging at her lips.
I was worried.
She said, voice lowering, almost playful.
That I might have killed you.